All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to the rationalinvestor.co's. This is our sort of weekend show, the Broiler Chicken Show. Kind of ad lib, it's not really written in stone.
All right, hello, everybody.
Yeah, there we are. We're live on YouTube now, so that's good to see. I did put a little quick hello there on the YouTube page, so I don't know whether you guys over there can see that now. Anyway, just really ad lib off the cuff. I thought probably what I'd really like to do here today, but there's only 3 people that showed up. I thought maybe I'd just sit and just take your requests and just review charts. But maybe do like 5-10 minute what the hell's going on with Bitcoin, and then maybe pop on over and take a look at some. I noticed that Cryptopia is perking up here this morning, and I just pulled up one chart off of Cryptopia and check that out. Holy Jesus! And it just goes to show, hopefully what we're doing is we're teaching you guys what to look for. And, we as a community, this is, half of the reason why I did, this site is I really would like for us to all try and work together. And if you see these things popping, let the community know. So that's a cute little W. If we change this to a line chart, you probably see it really easy. Right? So look at that. Down, up, down. Woohoo! It did do it here to a certain degree, and this looks like it was a bit of a head fake, but nonetheless, I think, if you're going to trade the W's, 70% accuracy, somewhere in that area. If you're going to take your, your lumps on these illiquid coins, be very careful exiting. Don't just like panic dump, or you might just, kill the order book. But anyway, you slice it. I definitely think there was a nice little W that perked up here. And I just happened to look at the list over at Cryptopia, and I saw it's up probably a good 5-10% overnight. And so I was just like, what's going on over there? And I happened to pull this up, and gee whiz, there's a rally. So, anybody who's quick on the trigger, actually, it would be interesting to see whether, our indicators were in divergence and stuff. I think this is, geez, was it about a year ago I set this up? Geez, yeah, it was. Look at that. A little bit hard to see on the dailies, but you can see that Willie was stupid. I always like to see that. And holy crap, look, if this thing gets going, look how much money there's to be made here. Look at this gap up here. Oh, Jesus. This is so funny. I mean, this is half of the reason why I do crypto. And it's actually, and this is a good tell, right? When the site's really hopping and everybody's all going crazy and you think the market's a good buy? Probably not. I load up this Broiler Chicken Show, and a couple of our veterans are here. So I mean, I think they I don't know, Jeremy, have you ever eaten a crypto before? I'm sure it's in his blood. And of course, it's always funny. Jeremy and I go way back. We have one coin in particular. It looked like it was setting up bullishly the other day, but as soon as we mention it, and I don't even know that I want to look at it because I want the fucking thing to rally. It hasn't moved forever. So Jeremy and I go way back. So nice to see you in the lounge. Garrett, of course, is our TA in the level 1 program last term. And a dear to my heart. But although I heard earlier that he said that his exercise routine got disrupted by this show, so I apologize for that, Garrett. But a couple names here in the lounge just Sunday morning here, Dan and DJ. I don't know whether I know you guys, but anyway, welcome. And if you have any questions, feel free. That's the whole point of this sort of broiler chickens thing that we do. It's pretty ad lib if I'm in a frame of mind. But if you catch me and you got a question, you want to look at a chart, definitely speak up. The squeaky wheel gets the grease on the weekends. And I probably, not a bad idea. Maybe we go through some of these and see if we've. It looks like I last did a chart up here on this. So it'd be interesting to review what this was. Let's see. Anything in particular I wanted to mention? I do see that the Europeans are all chomping at the bit for me to come over to Europe. So it's the middle of May right now. I would ideally like to do a sort of hop over the puddle sometime in July and sort of just bounce around Europe. The UK people want me. Obviously, the Dutch people, and I'm going to spend some time with Stuart in Holland. And then I don't know whether I can take a train over to Germany fairly easily or not. But maybe something to consider because the Germans are all sort of coalescing. And actually, I wonder where Axel is. Usually, Axel's around. So I was going to mention, Axel, if you watch this later on, this gentleman, Frank, and this gentleman, Alex, who I think you know, Axel, because you made reference to it here, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe Frank did. I don't know. But anyway, we maybe should start, gelling that German trip, whatever it should look like. Maybe I can hop on like a red eye or something over there. I don't know. Finally got my passport though. That was the biggest hurdle. Now I can actually physically leave the country. I haven't been able to do that in probably about 20 years. And keep in mind, when I lived with my wife, I had no reason. I mean, it's fascinating. If you're young, this is maybe a little philosophical for you. But I met this gorgeous girl, fell in love with her, and I was done. And that's the kind of one of the bad things about BC is that it's so perfect here. And I'm worried that if I leave, I'm going to see what the rest of the world looks like and come back. And the whole reason why I came to BC to begin with is like Ontario in the middle of the winter is, oh, what a nightmare. At least in the summertime, I'm going to be traveling, so I won't be so corrupted. But anyway, I'm babbling now. And of course, Jeremy, wherever you are, I don't know, if I have to go down to France to see you, I should definitely try and get over there. So that's a big priority for me over the summer. Actually, we just started a new level 1 program, and any new level 1ers that are watching, of course, you're gonna, hopefully you're gonna hear my voice a lot. Actually, even the introductory week, I re-recorded the videos last week, and that's like 3 hours, and we don't even get into any course material. You get to sit and listen to Brian rant on. So hopefully you guys are getting settled in and on balance. Fairly sizable class. John says BTC prepping to take more of my money. Oh, okay. Well, as long, John, as you've got a plan, John posted that in the YouTube page, and really, as long as you got a plan, you have the same reasons that you take the trades, day in, day out, and just, hopefully those reasons are vetted and it works at least 2/3 of the time. It's a trader's life, and really, you don't know what's going to happen. In fact, actually, it was kind of interesting as we were sort of going through this past week in Bitcoin, looking at the bot setups, just sort of working away, doing their thing. It's just a trader's life. And the weird part about it, John, is you almost have to, I found that I did my best trading when I just lost my opinion. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. Setup tells me to act, got to act. What's my opinion? I don't know. I know it sounds weird, but that's when you get to that place in your trading. Oh my goodness, it's such a nice, magical place. So anyway, so I was babbling a little bit about trips this summer. I apologize, sort of wasting everybody's time. Probably head on over, talk a little Bitcoin. I think, as I've sort of said in recent videos, until either of these white lines off of this weekly chart of good old Bitcoin off of Bitstamp here, as long as these levels are not broken, I think we're still stuck in a trading range. Bottom of the range is down there at about $6,000 or so for now. And we also have some historical high breakout levels and some tails, and then this powerful candle body reversal down in here. I can understand this is basically the bottom of the range, and then conversely 38.2 bounce off of this range took us right back into this level. Same sort of thing as this hard candle body pivot level here. We got a hard candle body pivot level up here, so I'm thinking that's pretty solid top of the range. It's interesting how, if we do happen to bottom right here, tough to say, right now. It's a little bit early, but if we do and we go AB equals CD, you can see off of this recent low, all this is going to do is take us right up against those highs. So again, I'm feeling like we're in a trading range. That really should sort of dictate how you're feeling, sort of your stance in the market going forward. The sad part for most people that are new to crypto is that you probably just sort of got interested and involved in the crypto space when you pulled up the weekly chart, and on a consistent basis, we were making higher highs and higher lows. And so it might actually be really difficult for you to transition into this kind of market state thinking. I don't think anybody's going to get rich off of crypto tomorrow. I think, if anything, this is a coin picker's market. And if you've got a half decent fundamental drivers on your particular cryptocurrency, and keep in mind, there's like 1,500 of them out there now. Just kind of like what I was showing on Cryptopia. I mean, look at what's happening here just right now. Is there money to be made in this market? I think this is now, we are officially in a coin picker's market. And Bitcoin's just going to sort of bounce around in its range. And frankly speaking, I wouldn't be shocked if we see Bitcoin trade back down, line in the sand. You can see it. It's $4,000 here. Candle body peaks in this 38.2. I think pretty darn good resistance. And the interesting thing is, even off the high-low levels, this fail level here was right off of the original M structure top level. So you could argue this is also a market structure level as well. If I look at the internals on the weeklies, I don't think we're quite ready. Actually, I don't even know. I don't think I've done that on this one. Maybe I don't want to mess this one up, so why don't we just we'll do a brand new one. BTC USD. BTC, yeah, you know me. Woohoo! And I hope you guys are really enjoying, not a Cryptopia. Oh, that's still on EVR. Isn't that weird? I think you have to actually go like /. Hey, there it is. Bid stamp. Hey, there we go. Oh, look at that. We do have everything. Okay, cool. If we look at the internals off the weekly charts, and really, guys, nothing. We're not reinventing the wheel here. What really sucks about, beg your pardon. That was like a long burp that didn't turn into a burp. Anyway, what sort of sucks about, cleanup phases is that you can see, in an ideal world, we'd like, first off, we'd love to see Willie stupid. So he's not quite stupid there yet. There's a weekly chart, right? So maybe that means there has to be one more wave down, like down maybe 6 months from now or something. You see back in the last peak here, right? This was the Gox peak. You see how Willie had to work his way and finally on the weekly basis get down into stupid here, right? Yeah, maybe we're here kind of thing. I think we've had a lot of people talking in the community about this is sort of what our summer might look like. And you can kind of see too here, right? If we go horizontal ray off of that high and a horizontal ray off of that low, you can basically see that was the trading range for that duration. Then we had to break it hard, and then that set up the final sort of washout on the weekly charts, which set the weekly base. And then, like I said, most of you that are in this space right now, you've actually joined me somewhere along this line. And it sucks, but I think we have to sort of, get comfortable with the idea that, Bitcoin itself is, it's cleaning itself up right now. And it'll take some time to clean itself up ultimately. Weekly ranging market balance. I think, you could actually make the argument from the weekly chart that we just had a fractal top fire, really ugly one, terrible trade location, a million miles away from the top of the fractal itself. On the even on the lower sort of time frame basis, we did have that, and we've been talking about those daily tops. We'll get to them in a minute. That big divergence in RSI and stuff that was playing out. So you can see that's sort of the end of that. it's interesting how that level almost perfectly coincides with the this funny looking, odd looking, almost like empire, this sort of neckline here, the open of this weekly, actually a close of that weekly bar, open of that weekly bar, close of that weekly bar, open of that weekly bar. This is a pretty important level for Bitcoin in here. And that's sort of about 8,500. It's interesting how the media were all concentrated on 8,000 in particular. And I couldn't understand that because really when I look at the charts, I don't see 8,000 as such a big number. I think there are other levels at work here. 8,000 is not one of them. Anyway, we had this inside bar reversal here about a couple months ago. Remember, I guess this is Bitcoin data over here. But this recent dip, this was the Japanese, triple harmonic setup, and probably, very similar to that trade of the year from 2014. All my students know that I like to talk about. So we just fractaled off the top there. So if anything, it makes sense. We're on pause, and off of the lower time frames too, we had like bearish moving average setups. So we knew that the institutions were positioned for shorts, hunting short ideas. So it really shouldn't surprise us that price was relatively weak. Over the very short term, though, like over the past 3 or 4 trading days, we have noticed that market's trying to pivot back up here. And I guess you're kind of seeing that on that weekly candle. We've come off the lows at one point just a few days ago. We were just like pointing straight down, just like, where is the bottom? And you can see we've come off the lows. But on a weekly basis, we really haven't done a heck of a lot here constructive. This might be the start of a new fractal pivot here. And then at the end of next week, and that's assuming that we finish like this, who knows what's going to happen in the next 6 hours. But assuming that we finish like this and maybe we have a nice up week next week, then that might set up a nice little inverted empire, which gets us back thinking uppy. And remember, we sort of had this, I think I did it off the other chart, right? This potential AB equals CD floating out there. So if all that develops, then maybe the middle to the end of next week, we might have a bullish bot set up off the daily charts or something to have us thinking long here, looking for a stab up into this 11,500, maybe. And then we went after the stops kind of shit. There's a bunch of liquidity pools sitting up here. So if we're lucky through the late spring, early summer, maybe we get a nice little pop up against these highs here. And as we sort of showed you on that old chart from way back when, that's kind of what happened through that summer, right? This was, here's sort of that early spring, thinking late spring, pop up against these previous highs, and then a rolling top, and then get ready for the fall. So if we're lucky, this is the area that we're sort of in right now, thinking about, what does the summer of 2018 in crypto land look like? And, if this is the backdrop for Bitcoin, can we find these kind of things that are going to take off and we can make some half decent money, trading the altcoins? So that's sort of what I'm thinking right now. If we look at the daily chart, right? Actually, we're coming into some really interesting levels. So first and foremost, off the dailies, I love this Gann chart. This Gann chart has just been like just the bomb. And we've been talking a lot lately about the speed bump that we're sort of trapped in. There's the top of the speed bump, really, very messy. We lost the speed bump and went just screaming right down to the other side of the speed bump. And you can see the fight that's going on right now. We're trying to recapture the speed bump. At the same time, too, we lost this up angle. And I think this was like a 3-to-1. And slammed into the speed bump, and you can see we're trying desperately to get back into this angle. And if we can, then I think, this is going to be our playground. That, and then we went after the stops. These highs right here look really vulnerable. And really, I might argue that, this is a huge pivot for price right here in the short term. If it can accept back into the arc, if it can accept back above this angle, then I think it's got some, some wiggle room all the way up, probably up to against these highs up in here. And that's like 9,300, 9,400 kind of area. And then, we think horizontal support and resistance. Hopefully you can all see that there's a few highs up in this area that are probably going to represent a bit of resistance. Something along those lines, especially that up candle right there, because they were like, all right, this is a bull, this is a bull, this is a bull. It opened up, went, okay, this is a bull, and then, right? So there's a whole bunch of trap bulls right up in this area. They'll be more than happy to get out of positions right there. So with this, we haven't closed above here yet. And of course, if we finish the day, beep, next day opens up, we're going to be here. We're going to have to accept back above there. You would ideally like this market to sneak its way up here, beep, and open up tomorrow above these levels, and then use it as a springboard. So I don't think this fight is over with yet. And then when we look at all the other charts, you're going to see, oh boy, this really is a pretty important level here. So with that said, we go down to our moving average system. This is sort of the institutional moving average system. And very simply put, any of you can do this. Try and do it off of like a daily chart. If you do it off of lower time frames, you're kind of cheating a little bit. It's just simply supposed to tell you what are the institutions thinking, and this is sort of how they have their screen set up. Almost like, first day of work, they turn on the computer. What's the sort of default template that their screens are set to? And as you can see, the trend itself rolled over bear on this moving average cross. And you can also see that momentum-wise, that was basically the event of losing this 50 level on the RSI study. And, I'm a big fan of not taking the first M that comes in, but the second M that comes in RSI as your trade trigger. So interestingly enough, that second M came in on this bar right here. That's the lot close of this, and gee whiz, look how that's basically right where the moving average is, right? First time it closes below both of the moving averages. So there's sort of your rock and roll momentum trade, and you can see, boom, she just fell right out of bed, right? And then just recently, we talked about the most recent sort of bot setup set up on the counter trend rally back into the moving averages. Because the moving averages were bearish, institutions are hunting shorts, and boom, they hit it again. It's interesting because like this low, and this low now, and it's a bit sloppy. I mean, it's certainly not textbook. Probably get that off. Do you go off of this original pivot there? Do you go off of this pivot here? Do you go off of this pivot here? That's, definitely open to, subject to interpretation. And you as a trader, you're going to mature and decide sort of what level works best for you. But the bottom line here, hopefully, as you guys can see, this is what we call a falling wedge, where basically you have, lower highs and lower lows, but the sort of degree, the magnitude of the pushes is getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And usually these resolve bullish. And if you want to write that down, take a screenshot. Falling wedges usually resolve bullish. So what usually happens here is you get a break of the top of the wedge. This has got to close on the other side of the wedge, and then the break of this candle's high on the other side of the wedge is your buy. And you'll notice that that's basically, if that happens right here, beep, these are EMAs. They hug price very closely. So on the next bar, boom, the EMAs, you can see it's trying to close above the fast EMA right now. It's right at the slow EMA. This will, if we close here, beep, bun, right? Next bar over, this is going to compress. And very simply put, a move through that is going to now be just like this was a, close below the moving averages and the trend continuation trade, bang. That's most likely what's probably going to happen here. The key here, though, definitely is, I think somebody even posted in the YouTube page, low volume, where the fuck are the buyers? And that's an excellent point, Dan, right? I think David, beg your pardon, David. This move up here is on a bit suspicious volume, right? And that we're coming out of the New York kill zone, so that's good. But the question ultimately is there going to be a whole stampede of buyers late Sunday through a North American session? And then, the Asians are going to start their Monday morning next bar, right? We'll see what happens when they come back from the weekend. One could also argue, too, that because we are up into moving averages and they are pointed negatively here, you could argue on a lower time frame basis, they're setting the market up. You can see 38.2 is coming in here. I don't really like to take trades at 38.2. It's not really my style. If anything, Mr. Burchett would say, we have to wait for this to resolve. Either we M out here and boom, down we go, or we W out here and up we go, right? Boom. But Mr. Burchett would say that this right here is not really the best trade location. You got to wait for this level to resolve itself. So in a weird sort of way, I think, the market was pretty sanguine. It was pretty weak. And you remember Thomas last week, late last week, was kind of like, I don't really have any trade. This is just a mess. And frankly speaking, I don't really fault him, right? Because, you can see momentum studies. They're pretty oversold, right? I mean, RSI below 30 means oversold. So thinking more short here, that's tough. And then, of course, we really need to see some sort of anecdotal evidence that this is a bull for us to actually get bullish and be hunting longs. And I think, if anything, we're both relieving that oversold condition. And then if this is a bull, we're setting the base for the bullish case to be made going forward. So is there a trade right here to be done on this? I don't think so. I would have to say that, this is still developing. For now, the stance is any kind of rallies into here and then lower time frame momentum failures, structural failure signs in here actually sets up shorts for a test of these lows going forward. If you don't want to take that trade, and that's completely understandable, you could wait for some more solid structure to develop up here. M's, a nice divergence to set up here. And ideally, for momentum traders, what we probably would love to see, and, we talk about this with the sort of Ray Burchett crowd, is a loss of the 50 line on some nice structure on a nice failure in price off the 38.2. Ray Burchett gets all excited. So right now, I think if anything, we're kind of caught in no man's land, but let's see how this develops. Now, the one sort of thing that gives me a little bit of optimism going forward here for the next little while in price is we have been grinding lower for a while. And, like our momentum indicators sort of suggest, you can only go one direction for so long. Then the rubber band kind of has to snap back. And I've been sort of producing these charts lately. And I really like to, it's just me, Crazy Brian. You could do the same chart off of Phoenix or Stamp or whatever. But I really like to watch this Gox trustee guy, and I noticed that whenever he acts in the market, people start pooping their pants. And I also saw, and I thought it was interesting, at that conference, people were making reference that, a good 2/3 of crypto business is done through Asia. And they made a bunch of arguments. There was one guy I was listening to made a bunch of arguments that I think make absolutely perfect sense in that, the Asians have been using digital currencies for a while now, so you can't say it's new for them. And then, this is what I was also thinking too. Like, no offense, we do have a couple of Americans in here. But the Americans absolutely love their US dollar, right? It's the shit, right? So if you're an American, it makes complete sense that you're like, well, why would we not use US dollars? We rule the world. But if we actually think about the rest of the world, it must be mentally debilitating for them to always have to quote back to US dollars. And so I can actually see that a lot of people around the world have had enough of that world. And I was actually, it's funny, prior to to watching this morning, I was thinking about this, and I was watching an old Monty Python, the Life of Brian, and the Bloody Womans. What have the Womans done for us? I was watching those skits. And I was thinking about it more and more. I do like the idea that the world likes Bitcoin because it means they can say to hell with the fucking US dollar, right? So, regardless of your stance, it's just the life of Brian. Yeah. That would be an interesting life. I'll tell you that much, by crackers. Okay, so the point of the matter here is that I do like watching the yen chart, and I also, because of GOX and stuff, and I also like it as sort of an interesting anti-West sort of Asian vote on crypto. And what I noticed recently, you guys have noticed I've sort of scrolled out here, is, and I don't know whether I have the exact date right, because you can see there's a little bit of a hole in here. I'm thinking, does anybody know what is a typical moon cycle? Jeremy, you know this, isn't it 28 days? I think it is. And so if that's the case, then, full moon cycle times 2 would be 56 days. So I'm wondering whether this study should be 56 days, not 52. But I am seeing that there is some sort of pattern here over the past few months, where we go through sort of like one full up cycle, one full down cycle within an entire momentum cycle. Here from bottom to bottom, right? Bottom to bottom, and then halfway through you can see up and then down, up and then down. So I'm kind of feeling like we're actually approaching some sort of apex pivot here. And I think, and it's just purely my interpretation, nothing more, nothing less, I think we're actually trying to pivot into a bullish cycle that could last a better part of a month here. And then also, too, looking back to those 29.58 days. Yeah, okay, so that'd be really interesting to I'm constantly playing with this. And I'm just wondering how these cycles play in. And I just noticed with this RSI study that it seems that there is some sort of correlation to these cycles in here. As a student of the market, as all of us, we're constantly learning new stuff. In fact, and I should give a shout out to it, James, I think, he posted this video from John Bollinger, using Bollinger Bands to find winning trades by John Bollinger, right? And of course, it's a shill for his website. So, if you like it, subscribe to his website, whatever. I thought this was such a good video that I actually went and threw it in the third-party instructional videos link here on the site. I actually have it's a volatility measure because, copyright, all that kind of shit. I don't want to say that I'm selling a Bollinger Bands course. I would like to use Bollinger Bands as yet one of my volatility measures. And somebody was asking me about this. I haven't done the video up on it, but I used to use ATR. Seward has a model with Keltner channels. If we can ever get to the new website, that he wants to show you that he's built on the new website. So I left that open for him to show us his demonstrations. I also wanted to have a conversation with you guys about standard deviation and using standard deviation to tell you how Mr. Bollinger uses standard deviation. The video actually does a really great explanation of standard deviation and the importance of it to Bollinger Bands. Then the ways that I used to use Bollinger Bands when I used to trade with Bollinger Bands, most importantly, this concept called the squeeze. I haven't done the video yet. As you can see, it's still sort of a work in progress. But for people who have asked for any kind of information on volatility measures, I do have that slideshow in the tutorials page. But as you can see, it's not a video yet. So I am working on that. But and also Kevin, if I'm not mistaken, not you, Kavarkinator, Kevin W or V. I think he's from Holland. I don't know whether Kevin's in our level 2 or level 3. Really, really smart gentleman. He said he downloaded a big course on Bollinger Bands, and so I asked him if he would be interested in 9 hours of videos. There you go. It was funny. Somebody on the site asked me, Brian, I'm interested in harmonics. So I was wondering, are there any videos on YouTube? And I was like, yeah, okay, well, here's this page. I'll see you in a couple years. And if I'm not mistaken, Garrett, didn't you find this page for us? So, there's lots and lots of videos out there. And of course, these guys are selling their newsletter too. So by all means, if you're interested in harmonics, go for Scott Carney stuff. But anyway, the point that it's in the library, dude. It's right here. There. Merry Christmas. Don't say I never done nothing for you. All right. So before we leave this, I just wanted to make reference to the fact that I put the Bollinger Bands video in there. Really great stuff. We're all students of the market. We're all constantly learning. It never ends. I've been at this for 30 years. It doesn't end for me either. Just get used to it. Okay, so so sort of finish off the Bitcoin thought here. Yeah, my thoughts on Gann angles. Hugely important level here right now. At the same time, too, if we do crap out here, don't be shocked. This is a hugely important level here for Mr. Gann. Falling wedge theoretically should resolve bullishly, but you can see we've got 38.2 and the institutional moving averages to fight with. This, again, is a hugely important level. I sort of put out on Twitter and sort of the public kind of speak. I don't really have any divergences or anything to work with here. I certainly don't have any price structure to work with here. So while, this is bouncy, there is no sort of buy signal here. I had mentioned in the lounge this morning that this candle, and this candle technically do make a fractal. But because of this candle has a very almost like no body, it doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence. It's ugly, it's crappy, but it is technically a fractal. So, long and short of it here is key support off of this fractal is basically the lows, probably the candle body lows, if anything else. So it'll be interesting. I'd love to see the market come up against these moving averages, fail, make a V top here, come back down against these candle body lows, make a nice W, and then break out. That will give the moving averages enough time to sort of base and start crossing bullishly, and it will give a structure off of 38.2 and hopefully give RSI the ability to put in some sort of bottom here. At the same time, too, like I said just a moment ago, I am thinking cycle-wise, we're near sort of the end of this current cycle that's just been like, I think probably, the name of this, and it's interesting because on balance, this was an up cycle. You can see we are going to be finish this cycle higher than these lows. But it sure has felt like it's just been chopped Vegas. It feels like it's just been, through the meat grinder. And what's really sucks about this was it was all through like sort of the time period when the public wanted Bitcoin. Can you imagine what would have happened in New York if Bitcoin had just fucking taken off and just fucking rallied through the roof? It would have been fucking pandemonium there, eh? They'd be running through the streets going, we're taking over. So if anything, for the betterment of society, it was probably a good thing Bitcoin didn't fucking take off. It might have turned into fucking anarchy, But anyway, so the point of the matter here is theoretically, this was an up cycle, and I'm feeling like, I wouldn't, to be perfectly honest with you, by the end of this next cycle, I really wouldn't be surprised if, where are we? One of these crazy tools. Where the hell is it? Right here. Stan the Man! I used to go to school with a guy, his name's Stan Parzinet. You remember me telling you about it? I used to have an economics teacher. He used to always go, Stan the Man Parzinet, buy crackers. So anytime I ever see Stan, I always say that. And he's like, that has nothing to do with me, Brian. Okay, so I wouldn't be surprised if we go through our next cycle. Hopefully it's a nice stair stepping higher. And our price action looks something like this. That would be most agreeable. We'll see what happens. I'll leave this on the chart just for conversation, and let's sort of track it in the background. Let's see how close we track that. That's kind of what I'm thinking here, especially into the summer. Happy. Altcoins, all their sort of projects and stuff get going in earnest. I'm actually pleased to hear that sort of the altcoin orgy has pretty much died out, which hopefully remains the case. Okay, so that's sort of bigger picture Bitcoin. Shorter time frame. Where do we want to begin? I guess, supporting that sort of transition thesis, you can see in the spreads, they did try and put in a W here, which is encouraging, eh? So the futures launch themselves higher, and they're sort of just stair-stepping their way here. Well, that's encouraging. I'm a little concerned about these futures boys and what they're up to. I mean, we're definitely near the bottom end of the range here, right? So we should probably, remember we had that gap fill event. We should probably, it just looks a little bit too early for us to call the bottom. If anything, probably Tuesday, Wednesday kill zone. They're probably, if they can finish the market where it is now, that means they're probably going to open it up somewhere up in this area. So we should probably watch Tuesday, Wednesday kill zones for trade into this area on the CME contract, maybe against that tail. So this is just conjecture because these guys are closed right now. I don't know where they're going to open up, but let's see what the New York boys, and you can see heading into the weekend, they position themselves that if this thing is going to shit the bed, they were short. So we might see a mad scramble to cover those short positions. I don't know. That'll be interesting to see. All right. So where's my 1 hour? So I got these cool 1 hour. Here we go. And interesting, something happened on OKCoin yesterday that we can't really explain. Thomas was in the lounge and he was saying that on the OKCoin platform they did not show this huge volume spike. So I don't know whether this is real or not. This might be like a TradingView fuck up. I don't know. You can see that wedge. Here's that same. So this is the OKCoin 3-month contract. There is that falling wedge that we talked about. That should theoretically resolve bullishly. And, here is that sort of double W kind of concept I was talking to you guys about earlier. I was going to trade RSI. I like the big W to come in, but I also really like this smaller W here. And what I also like about this is we go boobity boo, right, something along those lines. So that's the bigger one. And then notice there's this nice W right in here. Boom. So I really like this. As long as this remains in place, and you can see higher highs, higher lows, right? As long as this remains in place, she's good to go. And I would argue that this is your sort of second, or actually this is like third one, right? Because this would be your second one, breakout. There's your buy signal right in here. And now we're just, continuing on that. According to this 4-hour chart, I think more price wants to go up. And if we just do some simple fibs, my hunch is 38.2, still a little bit higher than where we are right now. Boom. Yeah. So 38.2 is going to be against these highs, and then we went after the stops. Perfect example of that. So this liquidity pool, these guys are super vulnerable right now. People that took this short setup, this short trade, and even this one here, I think, we were doing bot setups and stuff demonstrating. I don't know whether I still have those levels on here. Did I get rid of them? Oh, here we are. Yeah. So this most recent bot had to move stop to scratch level. And I think I remember I talked to you guys, best thing for these guys to do is hop at scratch. Does everybody see that? This is just a trader's life. You don't know what the fuck's going to happen. So, A, B, C, D, M top failed. came down, hit, move, stop to scratch, move your stop to scratch, walk away unscathed. That happens a lot for traders. I think we also showed you on Phoenix, for those people that were hunting longs, exact opposite equation. And remember, there's a million different ways to skin this cat. You don't have to be long. You don't have to be short. You just have to come up with what your reasons are to act and just get in there. When the setups come in, take them. So here you can see we had that top. So the botters are going short off of here. El Tangonators go, well, gee whiz, that made a lower low there. And then we also made this really tight double bottom that did not make a lower low there. Willie is stupid. And I'm starting to get a big fucking W coming in here. I want to get long. And the cool part about this is you could have seen this W and let the market break out. Just work your open order at the W level and say, if the market comes back to that level, I am so getting in off that double bottom. And it gave you the opportunity a couple times to get in off of that. You see that? And I think Thomas has talked to you in the daily briefs about, I'm going to let the market put in the M or W, and then I'm just going to work my order at that level. And on the check of the W, is this thing really a W? Boom, I get my fill. So there's a million different ways to skin this cat, and how you took this W, if you were hunting longs, how you took this this trade. I think, there's a few different ways you could have gotten in here. And you can see, took some patience and discipline, do absolutely nothing. Botters, they get stopped out at scratch. Fuck you. Okay, fine. And the El Tangonators are like, come on, baby. And pow, boom, they got their target hit. So really good example of, both sides of the market. I suppose from the range perspective, we're now actually getting into the neighborhood where, guys like Mountain Man are probably going to start getting interested. So interesting to see that M that originally formed off of there. That's actually Ian. Like, I think we're going to call that the shenaniganator level. That's such a level. But he's really big on 70.7. And I think it's like the square root of the hypotenuse divided by the constant rate of change of the universe. What's that? The speed of light. And then you have to take, I think, it's the tangent of the square root or something along those lines. But anyway, I'm just being silly, Ian. You fucking rule, dude. The point of the matter here is he's really big on 70.7s. Like I like to call this the 70.2, just the sweet spot of the midpoint of this range. But hopefully everybody can see, gee whiz, that's going to be the top of value here. It's going to be against the original double top fail. And this is why we call it reload zones. And you remember the New York boys, if the market actually opens up here, they're going to be underwater relative to their positions on Friday. So they're probably going to be hitting the bid to try and bring that market back down to New York levels. And then, I would also argue too, that this is a pretty big muak, right? So this is an area on the chart that needed attention. And, both short covering and bigger, higher time players trying to come in, defend their original top. There should be a chunk of volume to be done up in this area. So, you could also, and this is where, for the level oneers, I absolutely love to see you guys do this, is you draw your reload zones. Okay, I've got this big ass range, bottom of the range, top of the range, reload zone. And then we're going to ask the market, how are you going to get your butt up into there? What are some sort of good ways to think about where you're ultimately going to top out? So now we're going to do reload zones with an AB equals CD extension level. And now we get a pretty powerful level up in here. Thomas absolutely loves his 78.6 fib. I suppose we could even put Shenaniganator. He also loves the 88.6. So you can see how that's up in there. So now we get sort of like a window of possibilities. We've got basically a little mini profile here. Boom, boom, like so. where this is the top of value, this is the bottom of value, there is the POC, and gee whiz, what a coincidence. That's exactly right on that harmonic PRZ. Our theory, our MUOC theory is that volume needs to come in and fill this in. There's no reason why price can't go up and kiss the POC. And of course, if you're Hogue, right, Hogue wants to, I'm throwing a shitload of information. So especially all the new people to this site are like, well, what the fuck is he talking about now? But our old buddy Hogue, he's going to be wanting to play this little mini profile unto itself. So he's going to be shorting above this little value node here. We're going to make that as a little red, right? And he's going to be buying, right? Just playing this little range up here. He's going to be buying the bottom of value. So market shoots up into this, and you could argue that the whole process of the profile filling out here is going to be something like this, right? And then that'll make this all seriously full, and we get, and then maybe we fail and we have to come back down to the POC, which fills in all this, and then we have a nice full profile, and she's ready to go. So you can see there's still quite a bit of work to do on this profile. Isn't that cool? So put it all together. I like the idea of the market working its way higher here over the short term. I don't think that's out of the question. The issue ultimately here, though, I think in the short term is she's got some headwind. And keep in mind, that was a lower time frame chart I was just looking at there, right? So where was that? Right here. This is like 30-minute chart. So yeah, again, 86, 8,700 here on Phoenix. But make no mistake about it, we've got definitely some serious obstacles. We've got the Gann angles in the arc. That's definitely a pivot here for the market. And then I think it maybe was off of this one, I didn't. Yeah, the moving average resistance and 38.2 here. The problem here is that this isn't really that strong of a momentum bottom. And as somebody on YouTube had pointed out, there really isn't a hell of a lot of volume here. If anything, this is almost kind of like a dead cat bounce. But shh, you didn't hear me say that. Okay, so that's Bitcoin. Bitcoin tastes great. Full disclosure, and somebody had pointed out that the crypto page, keep in mind the boys are it's almost I almost at first it was kind of like it's a funny running joke, then it gets a little irritating. Now I'm almost feeling a little sad for the boys, but Julian and Stuart are just working their asses off trying to get us to this new web page. And I got to say, the tools that they set up and Stuart had built for the level oneers to make the transition to Rocket Chat and Thinkific, it's pretty impressive what they've done. But unfortunately, we've let the old page kind of die here a bit. And now we used to have the Trex orders, the API working, so at least you could follow what I've been doing on Trex, but I noticed they're not updating now. So, I did bring this to Stuart's attention, but I would, to be honest with you, I'd rather the boys, just concentrate on getting moved to the new website. But at the same time, too, we really should be updating this information. So my apologies to anybody who's, sort of pissed off about that. With regard to Trex, you can see the last sort of trade that we reported was we bought some game and some VRM. Keep in mind, still very nibbly, right? I'm not betting the farm on anything here. Lots of just nibbles, sort of probing, sending my soldiers out. You guys remember that IRA video that I told everybody to watch that I couldn't find the link to, but I think somebody found it. An update on what we've been doing. So where is the VRM trade? There it is. So we bought a little bit of NEOS. Not a terrible idea. I mean, nothing to get, too excited about. But here we'll just a quick update just in case anybody new to the site's like, well, what the hell's he been doing? So bought a little bit of the NEOS. Let's put that over there. Maybe I'll do it over here. NEOS. You can see just sort of swimming around the bottom end of his range. Don't mind that at all. Not a huge buy, just more just like levels, reload zones. In fact, I think I did a full sort of write up here. See what this comes up with. Nope. All right. Well, I thought I did. We paid 31,634, 32.5. So just basically right where the floor is here. Moving average is still relatively, sanguine. Nothing really to get too excited about momentum-wise. A little bit of a divergence here coming in. Willie is stupid. I like the fact that, people aren't like dumping this thing. It's just drifting here. Looks like a rally up in to fill this gap should give us a nice, well, it won't give us a double. We're going to need to see 6,100, I guess, a visit into this wick to get a double on that. But actually, I think, well, I mean, no brainers. Looks like there's a cheeky little gap up in there. That's 85, so that should give us that double. There's a little cheeky gap right there. So I think, like I said, sometime through the summer, if I can get a wick fill through there, I can get that free position. So I think that's realistic. We bought a little bit of ABY. Same shit, different pile. Willie's stupid. Cute little divergence trying to come in there. Hasn't been confirmed. Nobody's really panic dumping. It's just prices just drifting. We paid 91, so it's sitting at 94, basically right where we bought it. You can see the nice little market structure there. Not a bad idea to nibble on. We also bought, and actually I just picked up some of this morning because I actually looked at the account. We didn't have any of it. I was a little disappointed. I was like, I don't have any of this thing? That doesn't make any sense at all. I own everything. So I did 3 different RLZs, a really, really big one off of this massive range. Then I did another one off of this range from this low up to this high. And then I did another one off of this low to this high. And it sort of painted, overlapping RLZ. You can see we're in that massive, huge one anyway. And then we're actually in this medium-term one just sitting here. And then there's very short-term ones down here. So, I suppose there's a W there. I could justify just going and buying this, but I was like, you know what I think? I mean, I'm not in a huge hurry. I do absolutely love the look of this OBV. It's just sick. But I'm just going to start building a bag, right? So I went and just grabbed a little bit, 0.025, big fucking deal. You could argue, if I change this to a line chart, well, I'm just buying the W here. That's fine. And this is crypto, and I would recommend all of you guys, you can see how volatile this is, up and down, day after day in, day out. So I've gone and thrown in a couple more bids just in case we do get some uppy downy here through here, and probes against these lows, and even these lows are going to give me a bit more on the buy side. So consider this sort of, like building my bag. And you can see just nice, simple 50% retracement. I think it's perfectly realistic sometime through the summer to be looking for these levels up here. I don't see anything wrong with that. Look at that OBV. Fuck me, man. It's screaming accumulation. And actually that reminds me, Mr. Bollinger here made reference specifically to a volume indicator that he likes using. This intraday intensity created by David Bastian, which is a volume measuring momentum indicator. And I just put out on the site, Jeremy, you're here, Benjamin, Script Monster, Bugra, anybody who likes to code scripts. I would love if we could have this as a script for the site. It was really cool to see Bollinger's use of the script in his tutorial here. So before we move on, I just wanted to make reference to that. So all you script people, grab that screenshot that I threw in the lounge here. I'll even show you it again. Actually, I just showed it to you on the video, so if you're watching the video, you should have seen it. So, and I also posted in the lounge if you want it. Stan says he's got to head out. I'll catch the rest later. Thanks, Stan, for popping in. Always nice to see you, Chief. Stan the Man Wellington by Crackers. All right, take it easy, bud. So just sort of an update for you guys. I am in there buying stuff, and as soon as Stuart and I, get together, and he's got a minute or two, we'll just get that API updated. Obviously, there's something in reporting that's just not right there. At the very least, you guys can watch the Trex trades. But on the new site, we should have all the trades all automated. Okay, so that's about all I wanted to review with you. Actually, I think I've been yammering away for about an hour or so, eh? I don't know. How long ago did we start this? What does it say there? An hour ago. Yeah, this was an hour. So there you go. Merry Christmas. Why don't we finish off with a quick boo at a few of your names? I'll leave the if your names are on the not on Trex. What am I saying here? Not followed by TradingView, then we'll take a look at them over here. Let's see what you guys want to look at. So somebody, and actually, you guys in the lounge, is there any particular coins you guys want? You guys should get priority. Anything? Anything? How about you guys over on YouTube? Anybody want to say look at anything? No? Crickets? Jeez, all right. Well, maybe we're done then. Actually, there was a couple really cool ones that I was posting in the lounge this morning. I'll just sort of review those. Where is that? Am I still connected? Can you guys hear me? EOS. Oh, I think I remember I posted a big write-up on EOS yesterday. EOS. Where did I do this? Did I do it on Phoenix or something? Nope, not there. Man, I did a huge old shirt write-up and everything on this. Where did I do that? I thought I did that. Maybe I did it. Yes, US dollars. No. There's no way to quickly scroll through the. I wonder. Actually, let's see if I can go like this. Maybe I can go this way. If I go. Oh, how do I do that? Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's funny. I thought they were like little. Where's the thing on Chrome to show you the history? I don't see it. New tab, no. I have it over here. Hold on a second. Over here and here. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, that's what we got here. Okay. Yeah, I remember it was EOS. Let's see if I can find it. EOS. Hey, look at that. Awesome. What do we get here? Nope, that's not it. Oops. Oh, that's weird. All right, well, I thought that would work, but it doesn't look like I will. Boo, it says boo. Try it one more time. See what this is. Oh, oh well. We'll start at the beginning. Okay, that was a big waste of everybody's time. Hope you enjoyed that. Let's. Okay, where do we begin? I mean, yeah, I remember I totally did this up. What a shame. That was a great chart too. So I think there's like two scenarios here. Honestly, I wouldn't consider this even remotely attractive to me. I think the conclusion that I had of this is probably better places for you to be hunting for trades. Which kind of sucks because everybody is EOS bulls going, oh, you motherfucking son of a bitch, I want my money back. How dare you talk like that? It's about my beloved coin. All right, so looks something like that. 325 maybe. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so levels. Either this thing is top of the range. Suppose we can go. Boobity boo. Boobity boo. You can see that it hit that AB equals CD objective. So if this was it, one and done, top of the range, bottom of the range, reload zones, right in there. Change that to green. There we go. You can see that would bring you basically back down to this original structural level there. That's probably Ian 70.07. And I wouldn't be surprised if you drilled down to a lower time frame. There's probably some nice juicy gaps right in here to be hunting working bids, all in that area. If this, and interestingly enough, from momentum perspective, you can see that this is like a megaphone. There to there. And there to there. Expanding volatility, that's for sure. In fact, you might even argue it's not done on the downside, but anyway. Something along those lines. So you can see where it started, right? We've hit that upper end. This is still wide open down here. Willie is not stupid yet and is sort of working himself off of being stupid. Could we get a nice little counter trend rally up into here, kind of like these kickbacks here? Sure. Yeah, no problem at all. And there really isn't any structure to this, right? V down, V up. So, kind of like the momentum story, this thing's still all over the place. There's no real trend here. You can see money was pouring into the story. Woohoo, party. And then all of a sudden, somebody just shit the bed here. Big sellers. And, like you hear me talking about, it doesn't look like anybody's selling here. Well, here's an example where somebody did come out and dump a shitload of this. So, and that was on the structural fail there, right? That kind of makes sense. Loss of, I don't know whether that's 38.2 or not. That's that for our bot purposes. That's you can see it's 33%. So 38, could that have been a 38 fib? Sure. And loss of 50 level on the momentum oscillators, double top. Ray Burchett, he'd be like, short that shit. We've come down into a level, and you can see it looks like the market is probing here, trying to find a bottom. The fact that we sort of bumped into this same level repeatedly here should lead you to believe that it seems to be some sort of structural demand off of that level. These old highs, I don't know whether that's enough to get me soon thinking Super Bowl. I suppose one could argue on the lower time frames, we did come into an objective, right? A to B, clone that, C to D. So, yeah, what a surprise. Yeah, makes sense. We drill down to like, say, a 4-hour chart, you'll probably see that pretty well. Yep, there it is. Right. A to B. Actually, I think you got to go off of that high there. So it makes sense that the harmonic guys, and actually Justin was asking about harmonics earlier today. There's a really good example where definitely on that tag, I can pretty much guarantee you there are a lot of guys who are like, ring that register. Ding, 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 ding. So I think that's at work right now. And that played itself out. And interesting how right off of that AB equals CD level, look at the bottoms trying to come in here. So as we had sort of pointed out on the daily chart, I would be the type where I'd like to see a nice, like triple bottom come in off of this bot level. I'd love to see up, down, breakout. I suppose you could argue there's a cute little double bottom right there. And I see that, we've got some momentum oscillators pointing up. And off of the 4-hour, you can see there's also this bottom working as well. So, maybe there's a trade here. It looks to me like, as I said, me personally, I would be wanting to let this 25 resolve itself to set up this sort of position trade. I bet that we could probably, if we did like 50% rule, there to there. So there's good old 50%. And if you can find a divergence, we said this was 38. Oh, there's 33 right there. So 66, kind of no man's land. Almost looks like this is setting up. I think that's probably the 50% level there, right? If we go 50%. Yeah. So you can see that this market's trying to set up the next, A to B, right? And then off of the 50% level, C to D. But I would like to see some more structure here. It's just me. I could see a nice little intraday trade El Tangonator. But, on altcoins, I'm not really the biggest fan of doing this. Maybe if you go over to MEX or something and you see a futures product or something, that's not a bad idea. Oh, you can even see a cute little double bottom right down in there. So all the traders, you could have been like, well, I see a 1, 2, not really the best, but any kind of structural signal on the other side of this moving average. I'm thinking in here and then again here, justify longs for a rally up into there. I could also see people drawing just simple trend line there. And this is a tough one because technically the trend line should be drawn off of there. It's kind of messy. So actually, I think you probably have to go like there to there. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that looks pretty solid as a trend line. And interesting how that comes up against 50% level there, right? So, a lot of time for technicians. This is what you kind of have to do is you got to sort of get into the charts, draw some levels, start seeing where confluence develops. And that'll start giving you confidence in price objectives. So I think we have, 50% rule and original structural top here and this trend line, all sort of suggesting, 1740. So, I suppose the traders in the community, you could have very easily bought. In fact, I love this kind of trade where you have a double bottom, but this double bottom sets up right off of a previous bottom. And this can even be like a V bottom. I suppose you could argue same sort of thing here. You could have taken this double bottom and risked against these lows. I love, absolutely love, love, love when you get this scenario. This is like, there's a guy that we had on the site a while ago. His Twitter name is Carpe Noctum or something like that. I can't remember what his name is. I want to say Joshua, but I'm not sure if that's right or not. And he was going on about Adam and Eve bottoms. And you could argue to a certain degree this is sort of like that, where the first low is a V, and then the second low is like a W. So you can kind of see Adam and Eve. It's a bit cheeky. Anyway, point being that you're going to take Eve's double bottom, but you're actually going to risk against Adam's low. And that's sort of also like my, like 3 lows at the bot. That's sort of the same kind of thinking too. So, for the traders in the community that are like, Brian, I don't want to sit and just position trade. So boring. I want to rock and roll. Well, I think there is a quote unquote trade here, and it's working away. Suppose the final coup de grace, would really be for a guy like me. I don't know about trade location here. This is kind of iffy, so I doubt it would appeal to me. If this happened down in the green box, I'd be like, oh, gimme, 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 gimme. But because it's not happening in RLZ, it's a bit tough for Brian. But maybe you were like, well, this was an AB equals CD. The level 3ers, they go through this. What does AB equal CD? And I don't really like novices to trade this way because I want the probabilities to be as high for you as possible. But technically speaking, this AB equals CD price objective, where if you were short, I'd want you thinking about taking profits. This is actually technically for the harmonic traders, this is a trade location. So if you're like, well, Brian, I trade off the 4-hour charts and I'm trading Phoenix and this is a PRZ and then this double bottom came in and then a double bottom within a double bottom came in. I mean, fuck, man, I got to take the trade. I got location, I got structure, I got to go. 50% level is going to give me like a 3.5 to 1 risk reward. Okay, well, if you can live that kind of life, then fucking hey, man, we're rock and roll. Hopefully that wasn't too animated for you, but hopefully you can see that. Yeah, I can see a trade here. I suppose also too, for the Leanne James, Ron Jeremy's, whatever we're going to call that setup in a trend line break. I can also see 1, 2, 3, 4. I can see, the trend line people saying, damn, if this thing breaks out here, I'm buying. And again, 50% rule as your target. That's a 3.25 to 1. So, I can see the trades there. I just don't know off of the daily chart. And keep in mind, traders got to trade. You might get stopped out on those, and don't be a hero and take a trade here and say, I'm a trader. And then this thing rolls over and fails here and you don't get the fuck out, because if this thing fails here, you can see that's a long way down to the bottom. So, I would consider this sort of like trend continuation, hunting long setups on a market that's trying to trend higher. And if we fail these, this is not like little old lady nanny nibbles. That's the kind of shit that has to go on down here. Okay, so there you go. I bet you didn't expect all that, did you, David Davis? For me, nothing really for me to get too excited about, but I can see the potentials there. There are ideas. Really, what we have to do, David, is we got to figure out what type of trader you are. Are you a lower time frame trader? Are you a swing trader, medium term firm? Are you a position trader? Are you a little old lady that really doesn't want to be bothered with things like stop loss orders? We can build a plan around all those kind of different behaviors, but what we really have to do is figure out what type of risk taker you are and then build your plan around that. All right, why don't we do one more and then I'll hit the road. So the real definite wants OST. OST, yeah, you know me. Where should we do this? Actually, I got like 2 Bitcoin charts going here right now. One of the old one of the new one. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. OST, is that in this neck of the woods? OST. Oh, yeah. Where do you want to do this? Binance? You want to do this versus dollar? Ooh, that's a good looking chart. I think I bought some of this shit. If anything, I've been noticing that the Binance names have all come right off their screaming peaks. And actually, a lot of them have just come nice and politely right back down to their reload zones. And actually, we'll find out. Yeah, okay, I've got a whack of this. Yeah, it's basically right where I bought it. So I also have my open order working to sell half on a double. So there's really nothing for me to do right at the moment here. Just hurry up and do nothing. Is there a guarantee? Absolutely, 100%. These lows are going to hold, and this thing is not going to make new lows. Absolutely not. Please understand that. So if you're like the type of risk taker where you're going all in, right? If we lose these levels, you better get all out because you could just get destroyed here. Now, if you're willing to take, shots, nanny nibbles, and really, I would even say things like Joe Sixpack, perfectly fine. This is now entering a buying window. It's sort of flirting with levels. And that's probably because there's so many TRIers with bids working that they don't want to bring the price down to give us all fills. But hopefully everybody, and there's Kavarkinator himself. This is basically the trade setup that he really likes. I don't know whether he still likes it or not, but anyway, at one point he was really enamored with it. Where you try and hunt for sort of market structure off of 78.6 levels, and you can see they're probing here, right? There's no W that's come in here yet, but I love the idea of working bids. And I also noticed too that another site member, Joshua, loves his gaps, and with Sanskrit it makes it so easy to find them. You can see, boom, right on you. There must have been a gap here, and sure enough, look at that hole in the charts. So if you weren't in this name, right, we've got 78.6, we got previous market structure, we've got gaps, we got some pretty good levels to work with to take some shots. I think it's a little bit expensive up top here, and this is, if I didn't own any of this, and I was like, oh man, but I don't want to get it, miss the boat, whatever, because it's in the reload zone. And actually, I kind of did that with this core this morning. Hopefully, you can see the same logic. I might go in and say, fuck it. I'll just go in and grab some because this is this original bigger double bottom, and let's just have some. And I'll just, I'll grab, we'll say higher time frame level. So I'll grab a little bit, right? Maybe say like 1/3 of desired position. And then I will, at the exact same time, just go in and throw in, I like the idea of a nice little bid right in there. Right, so this is now lower time frame level and 1/3 bid. So if this thing just goes takes off, well, you got a little bit on the books. What the hell? If we do have some more backfill, and in a weird sort of way, because you still want to buy more, you're actually rooting for the price to go down, which is perfectly all right. There's nothing wrong with that. And then you get, your next fill. And then if you're like, okay, well, Brian, for my final piece, I'm going to just simply wait for the next W. Maybe it comes in off of there. And then I do my final bid. Now I've got my, sort of my little basket full of everything I wanted to buy. And maybe why don't we say like new W level. And boom, boom, boom. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. I get filled over time. Maybe the W comes in down here, and I end up buying my last little bit down here. You don't know, right? Maybe the W actually comes in up here. You don't know. All you're saying is, all right, I'm in the buy mode. I'm going to be buying a little bit off of the 61.8, the original market structure level. I'm going to buy a little bit more off of this 78.6 off of this structure. And then I'm just going to, whenever the next W comes in, my final piece is I'm going to try and add off of the next W. So, something to consider. And as I had said, I'm actually doing exactly that on one of these coins here this morning. Where actually in this one, here's an example where I did buy this. Maybe these fuckers just run this thing and these other bids don't get filled. Well, at least I got some on the books. Okay, well, hopefully that helps you guys, and hopefully that helps with that OST idea. What do you think? You think that's information that you can use? The real Nate? Let's see where this thing could go. Zoom out. Woo, look at that. Lots of upside potential, that's for sure. Get your order, sell half on a double, sell a third on a triple, whatever. There's probably money to be made here down the road. So, okay, that's 11:30. I have no idea how long I've been talking, but a lot of fun just chit-chatting, talking a little bit about Bitcoin, talking a little bit about altcoins. Everybody talked a little bit about Lambos. Nice to see Nils on the site. Mike was sent me some really cool kind of stuff on biblical days. Another reason it got me thinking about the life of Brian. Congratulations to all new level oneers. You made it into the new program. Hopefully we've got just a ton of redundancy supports to try and help you. If you need help, of course, reach out. That's what we're here for. And we'll see everybody in the daily brief first thing tomorrow morning. All right, guys, all the best, and bye for now.